GoForThe2.com in with the rapid fire selections. Going to give about 4 picks in this video. If you want all the SEC picks, Auburn, Georgia, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Texas A&M. Tune in this Saturday, College Football Today, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, October 3rd on MSG Plus, or go to the Sports Grid Network, sportsgrid.com. Then once the games kick off at 12 o'clock, I'll take you straight through from 12 to 5. Sports Grid in-game live. Check it out. I'll talk about all the 12 1:30 games. Also talk about the first half of the 3:30 games that kick off from an in-game wagering perspective. So check it out. 7 straight hours, Sports Grid Network, MSG Plus, College Football Today, this coming Saturday at 10 a.m. Let's jump right into the rapid fire selections. It's going to be very Big 12 heavy. Let's start with that matchup in names between Oklahoma and Iowa State. What can you say about the Sooners? They did not make second half adjustments, got outscored by Kansas State and Chris Kleiman 31-14, and that's been the knock on Lincoln Riley. I know he's a great offensive-minded coach, and rightfully so. He's got Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and now all eyes were on Spencer Rattler to lead this Oklahoma offense to the next level. He also had Jalen Hurts last year as well. Did not happen in the second half. Spencer Rattler looked like a deer in the headlights, threw for over 300 yards, completed over 70% of his passes. He was going in the first half, threw 4 touchdowns, but the 3 interceptions are really what really handcuffed his team in the second half. Critical interception that solidified the win with about 1:43 on the clock, and credit Kansas State for making adjustments. The biggest thing about Lincoln Riley, you could go back to that game in the Rose Bowl against Georgia. He does not make adjustments when he has big leads. If the train is in motion, he just allows it to go. He doesn't readjust. And better coaches like Gary Patterson, better coaches like Matt Campbell and Kirby Smart outcoached him in critical junctures. That Rose Bowl loss to Georgia. How about last year to TCU when he had a big first half lead, and last year a big first half lead against Iowa State and Matt Campbell and had to hang on with a 2-point conversion. This has been the MO of Lincoln Riley throughout his career. He's a great offensive-minded head coach, but in my opinion, not a great second half game planner, and that's going to be the matchup going up against one of the best blue-collar teams in the Big 12 in Iowa State. When you look at this matchup, 2 concerns for me for Oklahoma. Let's talk about the statistics, though. Oklahoma has dominated the series. Since 2000, they are 13-1 straight up against the Cyclones, and more importantly, all-time against Iowa State. Oklahoma 76-6-2 straight up. That being said, let's look at 2 weaknesses of the offense for Oklahoma and the defense. Offense, 3.7 yards per carry. That's not going to get it done and allow that offense to stay in manageable third down situations against Iowa State. If they can't run the football consistently, it's going to force Rattler into long third downs. That's going to put pressure on him, pressure on the offensive line. And Iowa State does like to blitz, especially inexperienced quarterbacks. So keep an eye out for that matchup Saturday night in Ames. The other factor as well was Kansas State did not run to get back into that matchup where they outscored them 31-14. It was the arm of Skylar Thompson. He threw for over 300 yards, 334 to be exact, and Kansas State averaged 13.4 yards per pass attempt. And going up against the 5th best quarterback in FBS last year in Brock Purdy, I give the significant quarterback advantage to Iowa State in this matchup. You look at Iowa State last week, they grounded out a 3-point win over TCU on the road. Breece Hall got going with 155 rushing yards in that battle. Iowa State rushed for 213 on the ground. That allowed them to sustain drives. Brock Purdy threw for 211 yards. And I think that's the matchup you'll see play out against Oklahoma. I think they run the football with Breece Hall. They challenge that secondary early and often. Look for Charlie Kohler, the tight end, to be utilized in terms of mismatches on linebackers and nickelbacks. And I'm not sold on Oklahoma being an elite team. I said it at the start of the year, I thought they would fall off. I picked them to have 2 losses this year prior to the conference-only schedule. I'm not backing down. And more importantly, I said Oklahoma State was the best team in the conference heading into the 2020 campaign with Iowa State there as well. Iowa State lost to UL Lafayette. doesn't count in terms of conference standings. I still think this could be one of the best teams within the conference this season. I think they strike the upset over Spencer Rattler and the crew. I'm not sold on Spencer Rattler. Remember, we were handing him the Heisman when he threw for 410 yards against Missouri State and 4 touchdowns. This is a different team. He struggled in his first conference game, now goes on the road against a very disciplined and physical team at the point of attack. Iowa State strikes the upset 37-30 over Oklahoma Saturday night. We'll keep it in the Big 12 with TCU and Texas. TCU's won 5 of the last 6 over the Longhorns and won this matchup 34-24 last year. Max Duggan, with a dynamic day last year, came off the bench in the matchup against Iowa State, played very well, completed over 78% of his passes, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and more importantly, Tay Barber with a big day, 82 receiving yards. This is not going to be an easy matchup for Texas. Texas was living dangerously. They found a way somehow, some way to pull out that victory against Texas Tech and Alan Bowman. Critical breakdowns, not just in the special teams, but just critical time management breakdowns at the end of the game cost the Red Raiders in that matchup. Now Ellinger and the crew come back home. They expended a lot of energy. They're playing a blue-collar rivalry game in TCU. Max Duggan cleared to play right before the game, didn't start but came on. I think he has success against Texas. Again, here's another inflated team. I know Ingram had a big day. Joshua Moore's a beast, but that defense for Texas is not elite. TCU is going to be able to move the football. Look for J.D. Spielman, former Nebraska wide receiver, to get more involved. And I think Gary Patterson on the road as a 13-point underdog is a live dog in this matchup. Texas might win, but TCU does cover this 13.5 point number Saturday afternoon. Another big battle takes place in the Big 12. It's Kansas State and it's Texas Tech. I mean, one team had a monumental win. The other had a monumental loss. From the series perspective, K-State has won 4 straight by 7.7 points per game. Picked up this victory last year, 30-27. Line opened up at 3.5. It's down to 1.5. I just can't back Texas Tech in this matchup just from an emotional perspective. I picked them last week against Texas. They should have won that game. Now they go on the road to face a blue-collar offense, and Skylar Thompson really challenged that Oklahoma defense over the top. More importantly, I just think Kansas State is more disciplined than Texas Tech right now. You look at Kansas State, a cause of concern is the rushing attack, only averaging around 2.5 yards per carry. That's not going to get it done. I look for them to get back to basics against a porous Texas Tech defense. Sam Ellinger, Ingram had big days on the ground. They utilized the RPO. That's what Skylar Thompson has in terms of this matchup as well. The speed of Oklahoma was able to contain Skylar Thompson in the run game. I'm not so sure Texas Tech can do it. I'll take Kansas State laying a short number. I think they win this matchup anywhere from 7 to 14 points. I think they run away with it in the second half. Look for the ground game to get going, and I feel like Kansas State does pick up a double-digit win over Texas Tech in this ballgame. Last battle takes place in the ACC. You have NC State that couldn't beat Virginia Tech with 23 players, including their starting quarterback, Hendon Hooker, in that battle. They got dominated 45-24. Devin Leary did come on through for 165 yards, completed 12 of 16 attempts. Hockman played terrible. 2 interceptions in that matchup. Person and the rushing attack playing very well. NC State's offensive line is running the football consistently, averaging 4.4 yards per carry, and that's a matchup going up against Pittsburgh and Kenny Pickett this coming Saturday. You look at Pittsburgh overall, a gutty 23-20 win over Mikael Cunningham and Louisville. I thought Louisville had a speed advantage. That game was right on the number, and somehow, some way, Narduzzi and the crew did find a way to get the victory. They're 3-0 for the first time, I believe, since 1977. So dynamic feat for Pittsburgh. But I think this is a tough game for the Panthers. They're coming off an emotional win over NC State. Played Syracuse in an ugly type of game. NC State now back-to-back road games. I think they can keep this game within the 14-point number. They're not going to win this matchup, but I do feel they're within striking distance. This is a fourth quarter game. I look for Dave Doran and the crew to run the football, shorten the game against Kenny Pickett. And like I said before, I'm not sold as a whole on Narduzzi. It's a good team. I don't think it's an elite team. Look for NC State to be in this ball game from start to finish. Pitt wins, but NC State covers the 14-point number this coming Saturday. You want all the picks? Turn in this into this coming Saturday, October 3rd, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. College Football Today. I'll see you this Saturday.